Hello, my fellow chatterers and Readathon lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is, we've got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I am Chatty, and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I'm going to be chatting away madly about recommendations for Journey-athon. Welcome to Journey-athon, where we will be reading as many books as we like and travelling through the map to reach the city of Party. So grab your maps and your compasses and get ready for some middle grade recommendations. So in this video, I will be talking about some more recommendations, middle grade ones for the water and the air paths for Journey-athon. If you do not know what Journey-athon is, I will leave a little link over here so you can go and check out the Readathon announcement and find out all you need to know. I have also done a video recommendation with the Earth and Magic path, so if you want to go and see that one, that is also up on my channel. So let's get in. Oh, before we get into it, I have to do my little gimmick. So I don't edit on my channel. I only have the power of the pause to help me, and hopefully one of the most important things about this video, as well as recommending many more wonderful middle grades for you all, is to try and do it all in one go without interrupting filming. So I have actually one video where it's just one video and not, and here's an accidental part two, because that seems to be the way it's all going at the moment. So fingers crossed this all goes in one, we will see, because it's one shot, there is no editing. I'm not going to start filming again, so here we go. Clink, clink, clink. So let's start off with our first prompt. Let's not, I got too excited. So as I mentioned, we are going to be following both of the air and also the water paths for this readathon. So I'm not going to sort of explain any more about that. If you want more information about what the paths are and what you can do, please check out the announcement video because all the information is in there. So here we go. This is what we're going to be looking at. And the book inspirations behind these are for, and we're dropping everything, for the water path. A lot of that has been inspired by the Lizzie and Belle mysteries. So the first book, Drama and Danger, this is by J.T. Williams. I was like, T.L. doesn't sound right. It's because it's not. J.T. Williams. And it is a historical fiction historical fiction mystery book set in Georgian London with our two protagonists, Lizzie, Sancho and Dido, Belle. So this book has inspired quite a lot of the prompts, which are all linked to the water path. So this is going to probably feature quite heavily, as you could use this book for those prompts, because all of the inspiration books, if you read them, you get extra points. So if you want to try and get them in, I've made it as easy as possible for you. And the book inspiring a lot, oh, it's got a very shiny cover. Okay, there we go. Getting a lot of reflection there. So the book that's inspired the air path is Catawampus by Ash van Otterloo, and this is a paranormal fantasy with a couple of witches that have to kind of join forces together to stop a big kind of calamity that has happened in their community. So this one, again, lots of prompts for the air path. So we will crack on, and those books are going to pretty much be featured if they would cover any one of the prompts that we have here. And all travellers and adventurers start their journey at Prologton. And to start at Prologton, your prompt is to read a book with a mode of transport on the cover. So I already gave you some options in the Earth and Magic Path video, but because it's a prompt that everyone can join in with, I thought I'd do a few more recommendations in this video as well. So first of all, a book I have to recommend is one that I've really enjoyed reading with my Mad March hair, and that is the How to Train Your Dragon series by Cressida Cowell, the first one being How to Train Your Dragon. If you are someone that has watched the film and enjoyed the film, just disassociate it, because it is totally different. It is the only bit that's the same is that it features a character called Hiccup, and it has dragons, and it's kind of Norsey Viking based. That's it. Everything else is completely different. And it's kind of a very different style. So the film, I'd say, is a lot more Hollywood, and the books are kind of a lot more kind of like gritty. It's very kind of like sort of geeky boy, sort of struggles to fit in within like the family culture that he's in. But we get to see him at the very start of his journey as he goes on a big character arc over the series. I haven't quite finished the series yet. We're on book 8. We're currently reading book 9. We've read book 8. That was it. Book 9 is the next one. Yes, we finished 8 of the books. So there's 9, and there is how many in the series altogether? It'd be helpful if I knew this before talking about it, but that would be sensible. Nope. There it is. There we go. There are 12. I feel there's 13. No, there's 12. It's a nice even number. Okay, 12. There's 12 books in the series. I've done a great job of selling this on. Anyway. As you can see on the front cover, we have a picture of Hiccup here, who is riding a dragon. Brilliant piece of art. Not really compatible to the story in this book. So if you're expecting dragon riding and you read this book, you will be disappointed. There is no dragon riding in this book. However, there are many dragons, so there is a lot of dragon action. We get a bunch of characters. We get our protagonist here, Hiccup, and his best friends. And we get irritating bully characters and then some other sort of silly characters in here. And it's all illustrated by CiTea Cowell. I did enjoy the first ones, but all kind of the ones that came after I enjoyed even more. And I feel the series is getting better and better. And book 3, we get introduced to another character called Kamikaze, who is one of my favourite characters. But any of the books, if you wanted to read any of the books, they all tend to have like a mode of transport on the cover. So the second book, how to be a pirate, we have a ship. How to speak Dragonese. The third book, you have like a hot air balloon. And the fourth book, how to cheat a dragon's curse, we've got skis. So there we go. Lots of kind of zany humour in CiTea Cowell's books. I find them a lot of fun. So that's one option. Another option is in a different genre, because dragons, fantasy, that's what that one is. We have The Deepest Breath by Meg Grahan. This is, I find this a really beautiful, heartwarming story. And it is a contemporary book, and it is a novel in verse. And it is beautiful. This is a story of Stevie, who is a girl who likes to know the answer to everything. That's how she feels comfortable. So she has a lot of questions. And one of the big burning ones she has at the moment is it okay to like another girl? And what do you do about that in a kind of romantic way? So she's exploring kind of like those feelings, and it's done in such a beautiful, heartwarming way with kind of really positive messages of talking to people to help you in here. And it's just a really delightful story, and Stevie is a wonderful protagonist. And we can see on the cover here, it's called The Deepest Breath. She's really interested in the ocean and things. We've got a picture of the ocean on here, and we've got a little character who is swimming and trying to swim up to the surface. So that would count as a mode of transport. Again, if you're looking for a book that actually features swimming, this is not it doesn't actually feature swimming. So it's kind of more metaphorical, just so I don't want anyone to be disappointed starting going, oh, excellent book about swimming, love swimming. It's not about swimming. Okay, managing those expectations. The next book I'm going to recommend and also talk about the series is Rumblestar by Abby Elphinstone. This is, again, a magical fantasy. What is going on with my words today? I can't even talk properly. Okay, let's try that again. This is a whimsical fantasy. It's a portal fantasy. Has magic in it. Marvellous. Great. On the front cover, you can see this wonderful hot air balloon. Hot air balloon. Love the hot air balloon. That's all I'm going to say. If you love fantasy, and you have not yet read Rumblestar, I cannot recommend it enough. It is just such a warm, cozy, everything you kind of want from a middle grade book. Really beautiful like protagonists that you're rooting for, a sort of awkward friendship that you're sort of there trying to manage, a really fantastical world, like courage and strength and just character growth in here, but all done kind of reasonably, rather than children kind of going off on a crazy adventure, which is always fun. But sometimes you're like, why have you gone off on a crazy adventure? It doesn't make sense. It makes sense. It's logical as well, which I appreciate. And I feel that this one is just really reminiscent of the feelings, if you enjoy that kind of nostalgia that is evoked by reading your childhood favourites. I really feel that has got that sense in here. This really kind of reminds me of that that sort of like fantastical concept from Narnia of like opening your wardrobe and just disappearing into another world that just felt really magical. This has got that same feeling, and it's just wonderful. I really, really, really recommend Rumblestar. You can also read any of the other books in the series as well if you have already read Rumblestar and you want to continue. Jungle Drop, we have a unicycle, which is wonderful. And Crackledawn, we have this sort of sea dragon that they are travelling on. And Everdark, which I don't have a physical copy of right now, is it's got a ship, got a little ship on the water. So any one of those would count. They are all companion novels. They are still following a series of the Unmapped Chronicles where they there is kind of like an evil kind of threatening this world, but you follow different protagonists in each book as they each kind of do something to kind of stop the evil spreading. So that is what these are all about. I have yet to read The Crackledawn Dragon. I'm hoping I might be able to read that with Miss Vidania Silverscribe for this readathon. We will find out if that is going to be possible at all. But I do really enjoy this series. And the final recommendation I have for this is a book that I read as part of Middlegrade March, and that is Nura and the Immortal Palace by M.T. Khan. Fortunately, I do not have a physical copy to show you because I couldn't grab it from my library and I don't actually own it, so that's a shame. But I think the cover is really beautiful on that one. And if you have watched my channel for a while, I was talking about it, I think, from December onwards about wanting to read this book. And finally, I did read the book for Middlegrade March. It is another fantasy book, but it is a different setting. This is sort of takes a lot of sort of like Arabian mythology. So there's a lot of jinn. It's set in India, and it follows our protagonist as she goes on a journey through, again, there's a portal, but it has a lot of character growth. Like she survives a certain way because of like her circumstances, but she kind of goes on a character growth journey as well about trying to do the right thing. And there's friendship in there. There's sort of like determination and a lot of support of education, and kind of like the true situation of what is happening to some children in India. And I think the author does a really wonderful job of highlighting that. And I think it's on one of the Waterstones list of like best books of the year or something like that. I can't remember the name completely. But yeah, that is another book I recommend because on the front of that there is a load of boats on the water. So that definitely counts as a mode of transport. Okay, let's travel a lot further on the map. So if you are travelling to the Smokey Mushroom via the water path, then you need to read a book with a mystery word in the title or in the series. So for this, you could definitely use one of the inspiration books, the Lizzie and Belle Mysteries. Mystery absolutely counts as a mystery word, and it's in the series, so that definitely counts. And that is a historical fiction mystery book. We're doing so well. Okay, another option I have for you is by Benjamin Dean, The Secret Sunshine Project. And this has the word secret, which I think is mysterious. So that would definitely count. Also, look at these edges. Oh, pretty Waterstones rainbow. I really, really love this book. This is a contemporary book. It has about two sisters, and it features what happens when they have to kind of move out of the city and move to a much smaller town, away from things they know. And they also have to miss out on going to the Pride celebrations in London, where they all went as a family previously and really enjoyed it. They're all suffering a loss, and it all just is making them feel sad. So, see if I get the names right. Oh, okay, yeah. So the older sister is called Riley, and she came out to her family and is really, really sad to be missing Pride. So B decides to make her younger sister happy. She wants to try and get a project going in the new place that they live, and it's incredibly heartwarming. Then have a book that could be an option for me because I haven't read it, and that is Orion Lost by Alistair Chisholm. I've been wanting to read this for a long time. It has appeared on TBRs before and I just haven't got around to it. But the word lost I think is mysterious. Something has been lost. So that would definitely count. This is a sci-fi. I've heard amazing things about it. I've heard booktubers where I've liked quite a lot of their other things have said that this is brilliant. And so I'm very excited to read it. And I really need to get on that. That's all I know. That's it for that one. I haven't read it. Nothing else for you. And slightly more, I would say, on brand. We have an adventure mystery series, and that is the Adventures on Train series. I'm holding up the third book because I haven't got my hands on the first. This is a series I'm borrowing out the library by M.G. Leonard and Sam Sedgman. The first book is called The Highland Falcon Thief. So the word thief, I would say, is very mysterious. We also then have kidnap and murder as the books progress. So I've really enjoyed the first two books. Currently reading this one, and it's following a similar journey. The relationship between Hal and his uncle, who is a train journalist, is wonderful, and Hal really likes drawing, and he uses his drawing skills to solve the mysteries as they happen on the trains. Let's see what the prompts for the air path to the Smoky Mushrooms are. To travel to the Smoky Mushroom via the air path, you would need to read a book with a disaster pictured on the front cover. So again, inspiration book, Catawampus would work for this one. Although this is front cover definitely done for the book rather than just depicting a specific scene. We have Delphina here, sort of with a little bit of a worried determination look on her face, rifling through her spell book. And we have Katie Bird with sort of slightly out of control, glowing green hands. And that's all I'm going to say about any potential disasters in Catawampus. Other book recommendations are Cookie by Connie Huck. This is the first book in the Cookie series. It's called Cookie and the Most Annoying Boy in the World. And there's quite a lot of disasters that kind of happen around Cookie, and she has her own very unique way of talking about them. So this is a contemporary, and it is about this girl Cookie who really enjoys quiz shows and science, and she's a bit sad that her best friend of the world is leaving. There's a new kid that's come into the classroom, and it's kind of a lot of sort of leading up to an event that's going to be happening. There's a lot of kind of hijinks along the way. It's done in a really accessible style, full of illustrations that are all done by Connie Huck. Oh, that is discovered a couple of bookmarks in there. That's helpful. I wondered where they've got to. This is actually my son's book, and we read it together, and he found quite a lot of it very, very funny. So we do intend to carry on reading and read the other two books that are also in this series. As you can see, pictured on the front cover, we have a giant exploding bottle here. It is, I believe it was lemonade in the actual book, and it is spraying the word cookie, and is also spraying one of the drawn characters in the book as well. Disaster! And a fantasy book recommendation showing a disaster on the front cover, I have Amari and the Night Brothers. So here we have Amari, and here we have a shattering sort of sphere. So I think I would definitely argue that anything breaking is a bit of a big giant whoops. So there is a calamity, there's a disaster. This absolutely counts for this book. This is by B.B. Alston, and it's one of my favourite books. If you have not yet read Amari, if you've been meaning to read Amari, please take this opportunity to read Amari. You will not regret it. It is amazing. Then a slightly younger age range, but really fun. I have a kind of a blend of contemporary and sort of magical realism, surrealism, silliness, and that is Charlie Changes into a Chicken. And I can't talk about this book without laughing. So this book is a really funny book. It's by Sam Copeland, and again, sorry, lots of sparkles on the cover from the light. So I think a child turning into another animal is a bit of a disaster, so that would definitely work for this prompt. There's quite a lot going on for Charlie in his life at the moment, and one of the biggest problems is he suddenly has started turning into animals, has no idea why or what is causing it, but don't worry, because his group of 3 best friends have his back. Here they all are around the sides. Kind of, it's been a while since I read them. Oh, they've got their, it's very helpful, they've got their names. So we have Mosen, we have Wogan, and we have Flora, who all lend a hand to Charlie to try and work it out. They have a lot of crazy ideas, and there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in this book. But I had one of the best times reading this with my children. But I think, you know, if you enjoy reading middle grade and you enjoy funny books, then I definitely think this one should work for you because it is hilarious. And we also have a bit of an arch nemesis here, Dylan, going on. But one of the things I really love about this book is the narrative voice of Sam Copeland. There's a lot of footnotes. There's a lot of kind of author breaking the third wall in here. And I enjoy that kind of zaniness. So if that sounds like your thing, this is definitely an option for you. And if you travel to Boardwalk Theatrics using the Waterpath, then you need to read a book that is part of a series. Most fantasy books do tend to be part of a series, so I'm going to recommend one that is actually a contemporary series. So I have got, I don't have a copy of this, unfortunately. Again, I couldn't get it out of the library, but this is one that I haven't read that is on my list to read, and that is a series called Front Desk by Kelly Yang, the first book being Front Desk, which tells the story of a girl whose family have emigrated, I believe it's from China, but don't quote me on that, to America. And she is dealing with sort of being part of a new country, and her and her family own, I don't know if it's a bed and breakfast or if it's like a hotel, but they are in hospitality. And the books in the series are described as being very emotional and hope-inspiring, and I've heard really delightful things about it. The second book in the series is called Three Keys. The third book is called Room to Dream, and the fourth book is called Key Player. There are obviously many fantasy books you can choose. I've gone for sort of what I feel is a bit of a hyped classic series. It definitely gives me a lot of nostalgia, and that is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. So the first book being Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, and then you have, following on from that, the Sea of Monsters, the Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth is the one that I'm currently on, which is on my bookshelf, and The Last Olympian. So any of those would count because it's all part of a series. You don't need to read the first book, you just need, as long as it's a book that's in a series, that absolutely counts. And a classic series that I have for you, again, a hyped one. So if you haven't read it and you're looking for an excuse for reading Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I love Anne. I've grown up with Anne. She feels like a friend. I often aspire to be Anne and be Annish in my life. Don't always succeed, but I always like to try. Anne is such a wonderful character. The positivity and imagination and friendship that she kind of infuses into people's life, as well as being very honest. You know, she doesn't, if she thinks people are wrong, she will tell them. Like, she's very firm in her opinions, which I really love about her. But at the same time, she's also really kind-hearted and wanting to do the right thing, and the relationship between her and her adoptive parents is very beautiful. So there are, I think, 8 books in the Anne series. I have got the first 4 with me. My mum has the whole collection, which is where I read them. So the first few ones is Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, Anne of the Island, and Anne of Windy Willows. And they are all kind of like as Anne grows up, and then you then start to follow the lives of her children as she gets older. There's Anne's House of Dreams, Anne of Ingleside, Rainbow Valley, and Rilla of Ingleside. So that definitely counts as a series. And there's a little quote. So I have this this little edition of Anne. It is one of the, what's it called? I don't want to say what it is. No, it's not going to tell me. It's not going to tell me. But it's a little tiny series, a little tiny pocketbook that can fit in your hand. It's really cute. And on the back it has a quote that says, "Isn't it nice to think that tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it yet?" Very Annish. Okay, let's see where we go on our journey next.
So next we journey to Whittle Village, and to take the water path to Whittle Village, you need to read a TBR vet.
So the prompts at Whittle Village are very personal to you. I can't really recommend anything because I don't know what books are on your TBR vet list. But any book, any middle grade book that you've been meaning to read for a really, really, really long time counts, or any book that you've had on your shelf for a long time, all of that counts. So I'm just going to tell you one of mine. I have been meaning to read this for the longest time, and that is The Girl of Ink and Stars by Kira Millward Hargrave. I own a lot of books by Kira Millward Hargrave. I haven't read any of them. I've read nothing. I've read nothing by her. I really feel I'm going to love her books, and I've read nothing. So this would be a good thing to read. It would be good to read a TBR vet, and actually try a Kira Millward Hargrave book. The Girl of Ink and Stars, I think, is one of those books that's possibly going to become a classic. It's just, I hear it all the time. And they've recently, at Waterstones, they have recently released like an illustrated, beautiful book of A Girl of Ink and Stars. So I feel when a book kind of gets that sort of level of publishing input, it is kind of on its way to being kind of classed as that kind of more classic tale. So I do believe that this is a fantasy. It might be slightly more magical realism. All I know is it involves an island. It involves a female protagonist that does something. Possible boats. I know nothing else beyond that because I really don't want to. I think I just hear really good things about it, so that's why I want to read it. But as to what the plot is, I don't know. And I don't actually think I said at the beginning of the video, but I will list all the books with its story graph links, so you can click on them and find a much better synopsis than any that I'm going to give you. But yes, it's on my list for such a long time, and I've owned it for quite a while now without having actually read anything. But we have a map, and we have a lot of kind of like compass points and things across here, so it does feel really like a great book to be reading for Journey-athon. So that's one that probably will make it onto my pile of possibilities.
To travel to Whittle Village via the air path, you need to read a recently purchased or a recently acquired book.
Again, going to be totally personal to you. One book that I am probably going to be reading is Onyeka and the Rise of the Rebels by Tola Okoguru. So Tola Okoguru wrote Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun, which is just there, which is one of my favourite books that I read last year. This came out in February, March time, and I finally have earned it. It's in my possession. I couldn't make it onto my TBR in June, which was really sad. So July, perfect time to read Onyeka.
To take the air path to our next place, the Grombies, you need to read a magical book.
So for this one, any book with any type of magic in it counts. So for this one, you could read Frostheart by Jamie Littler, which is a fantasy book. And again, it's one of my favourites. It's a completely fantastical world set in the ice. We have a protagonist, Ash, who has sort of like a slightly kind of disturbing power that the rest of the kind of community is very suspicious of. You have like a threat of danger from there's a word for them, I've totally forgotten what it was. Leviathan, thank you. So you have these Leviathan monsters. You have a whole range of different characters, and Ash makes some friends along the way, and you have a beautiful found family. So it's very magical and very beautiful. And I highly recommend, if you haven't read Frostheart, you should read Frostheart. You should definitely read Frostheart. Another option is more of a kind of, has more of like a folktale feeling to it. And that is The Girl That Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson. So I recently read this one, and it was so beautiful with the storytelling and this kind of mixture of sort of like forest and sort of family, and it was just such a gorgeous story. So there's a lot of magic involved in it. a lot of kind of nature, animal companions, and again, lovely found family, beautiful writing. Highly recommend The Girl Who Speaks Bear. The finally one that I haven't read that could definitely be an option for me is Root Magic by Eden Royce. Pardon me. So this is set in the 1960s, and these two twin children are taught what their kind of family magic is. Other than that, I have no idea about it, but I have been so desperate to read this for such a long time, and it just, again, hasn't happened because there's so many other reading commitments and reading books. So I'd really love to get to this one as well.
To get to the Grombies via the water path, you need to read a book that is set in the past.
And I realise I haven't spoken about our two inspiration books for a while, which is incredibly remiss of me. Catawampus and Drama and Danger in the Lizzie and Belle mysteries. Just to backtrack, a book that is part of a series, Drama and Danger, the Lizzie and Belle mysteries, absolutely counts. A magical book, Catawampus. So there we go, you could also read those. A book set in the past, Lizzie and Belle mysteries, Drama and Danger. It's set in Georgian England, which is like the 1700s. I'm looking at the back of the book to see what it says, but this is not the book. I put paper over the top because I don't own the book, but I wanted to have a visual for you all. So that won't tell me anything. But I'm pretty sure it's like, I can't remember the exact dates. But yeah, it's Georgian period. I'm sure if you look it up, the link's in the description, look up Storygraph and you'll see, but it's definitely set in the past. Other book options you could choose. Now again, I really haven't managed to get hold of physical copies of these, just because my library doesn't have them. They have like the electronic copy and they have the audio copy, and these are on my list, but I'm on a book buying ban and I can't get hold of them right now. So I'm just going to tell you what they are. So one of them is a classic, and it is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. So I think this is a book that most people have heard of. It's actually part of a series, which made me really excited because I thought it was a standalone. So I'm hoping maybe next year to read the whole series of the Logan family. So this book was written in 1977, and it is set in 1933, and it explores kind of the life and kind of day-to-day living of the Logan family. And it definitely looks at a lot of kind of like what it's like sort of in their community, and how like the backdrop of like the history going on at the time like affects people in their community. It deals with a lot of kind of like racial tension, and how despite the family having to deal with that, they do a lot of really supporting each other and standing up for their rights and not being bullied. So Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry would definitely work for a book set in the past, or any of the other books in the Logan series. A book I do have is one that has a fantasy element, and that is the Goth Girl series by Chris Riddell. So here I have the first book, Goth Girl and the Ghost of a Mouse. And this is set, if you can't tell from the picture of Ada Goth here, in this lovely sort of slightly Grecian looking Regency dress with a beautiful feather. It is set in the Regency period. So Ada Goth is her father. So Chris Riddell also illustrated as well. Her father is inspired by Lord Byron. So like as if Lord Byron was a sort of a father of a child in a children's series book. So we have a lot of kind of like Gothic references throughout here, and like kind of literature references, but the story is really fun. The drawings are beautiful. There's a lot of whimsy. There's a secret kids club in here as well. The pictures are beautiful. It's a really cozy story, and it's all kind of set in sort of Regency England in a Gothic mansion. And a book again that so a book that I don't own but I also haven't read at all, that I am very interested to read, is called The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Burbaker Bradley. So this is not it's quite a recent book, but it's not like too recent. It was 2015, so eight years ago. But it is giving me, so hearing about it is giving me Goodnight Mr. Tom vibes. So it is set during the 1940s. Children are evacuated, and one of the so I think it's a pair of two siblings, and the girl has a physical disability of her foot, but they start to develop this wonderful relationship with their the person they were evacuated to, and you kind of learn a little bit more about what their life was like before the evacuation. And it sounds like a really heartwarming story, and all the things about it sounded really, really cool. So it's definitely on my list to read, and has been for a few months now. So that's definitely an option. So that's The War That Saved My Life. Okay, I think we have 2 more stops to go.
To reach Sancho's artistic port via the water path, you need to read a cosy book that makes you feel safe, or a book that has a bright and colourful cover.
So for this prompt, I have Asher and the Spirit Bird by Jaspinda Verlan, and I recently read this book and really, really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful adventure story, a story about friendship, a story about determination, and you can see this gorgeous cover. We have got it sort of looks like an eagle, but it is called something that begins with L that I can never remember, but it's sort of like a bird of prey in the sky. We have got flowers, and we have got a tiger, we've got mountains that are drawn with ice caps and sort of purple, we've got sort of like various different pink flowers, and like a red moon all across the book. So there is lots and lots of colours on the front of this book, which feels very, very joyful. So although this is a prompt for the Lizzie and Belle mysteries, you could feel this is a cozy mystery book, so this could definitely work. The cover is not that colourful. I wouldn't call this a colourful cover. I mean, by all means, if you want to call it a colourful cover because it's got more than one colour on it, I mean, go for it. Like I said, there is no readathon inspection going on here. If you want to count it, count it. But the second book, which is so top of my wish list, Portraits and Poisons, has a really colourful cover. It's got a wonderful kind of like pastel flowers, like they're in this like pastel flower garden. It looks amazing. So that one would definitely work. So the reason why this prompt, I really enjoyed putting this prompt in here, is because I chose the sea path for the Lizzie and Belle mysteries, and the sort of like the threat of the ships and being kind of taken away and kind of kidnapped is very kind of real in this book. So travelling by ship might feel a little bit scary for them, but once they get into Sancho's artistic port, they can get off the ship, and they can feel safe and cozy there, and then they could get a little rowboat to the CiTea party. So that's the inspiration behind the prompt. But Catawampus has got a very colourful cover, and I think most middle grades do feel cozy, so you can definitely interpret this however you like. But this has got a very colourful cover, so that would work. Another option I have is a classic. So this is my copy of The Secret Garden by Frances Hodges. Let me find her name. Frances Hodges Burnett. Okay, cool. Frances Hodges Burnett. And I find The Secret Garden a very, very cozy book. If you have not read The Secret Garden, I recommend just kind of going in cautiously to start off with, because the beginning is quite problematic, and it has kind of like white entitlement at the beginning. So just be warned sort of when you do go in. But most of the book is about the enjoyment of a garden, and how the garden is seen as sort of like quite healing to people who are ill, and to also people who are sort of ill in their attitude to life and their treatment of other people. And I really enjoyed the turnaround of the characters in this book, and how light is kind of let into their lives by awakening this secret garden. Also be aware as well, I haven't read this recently, but I don't know how, there is disability representation in here, but I don't know how problematic that is. So just kind of be cautious sort of when reading classics that have got certain things in them. But I do feel it's a cozy book in terms of its kind of appreciation of nature, and how that can be quite healing to people. And the final book I'm going to recommend for this prompt is Jamie by L.D. Lipinski. So this is a book, again, I really want to read. It is a contemporary book, and it has a very colourful cover with all of these wonderful LGBTQ plus flags. And in centre place, we have the non-binary flag here, because Jamie is a non-binary character. And Jamie has a bit of a dilemma, because the secondary schools that Jamie can go to are either a boys' school or a girls' school. And Jamie does not fit into those genders. Jamie's gender is non-binary, so they are like, well, what do I do? So this is an exploration of all of that, and I feel it's going to be done in such a heartwarming way. I'm so excited to read this. Yay!
And our final destination, the one we want to get to, is the CiTea party. And no matter whether you travel the magical earth, water, or air paths, you just have to read a middle grade.
And that is our final prompt. So you just need to read a middle grade. So any middle grade counts for this one. Go wild, choose whatever you like. So if you're someone that enjoys a mood read, you can mood read. If you're someone that wants a little bit more direction, then just put a few books together and like pick randomly. Or maybe there's a prompt you want to try, or a few prompts you want to try, so you could just pick a prompt randomly and then read that book. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope this has given you a few ideas. I really love sharing books that I really enjoy, or ones that I think are going to sound good. And it's been such a lot of fun to kind of like match everything up to the prompts. Please tell me any recommendations you have for any of the prompts, or any books that you're really looking forward to reading. And if you want to chat to me in Discord, I will be in there. So go wild, chatter away. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And we did it! It's all in one take. We didn't have to stop. Yay! That's great. I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a lot of fun with this readathon if you're taking part. If not, I hope you're just enjoying me chatting anyway. And I hope whatever you're reading in July is a lot of fun. Happy reading, everyone.